There's been a lot of speculation over the past couple of years concerning the possibility of Microsoft's first-party properties possibly coming to other platforms, such as the Switch and even the PlayStation. And we've already seen some games such as Cuphead and Ori and the Blind Forest on the Switch. But for those of you who are hoping to see some of the bigger games like Halo or Gears being ported across, there's some bad news coming out of an interview with Phil Spencer for the website Stevivore. He stated in the interview that GameStack won't be used to release first-party titles such as Halo, Gears, Forza and so on other platforms. And GameStack, for those of you who don't know, was set up by Microsoft earlier this year in order to, and I quote, give game developers, no matter whether they are AAA studios or working solo, all the tools they need to develop and then operate their games across devices and platforms. And as I've already said, it's already been used to bring games such as Ori and the Blind Forest and Cuphead to the Switch, but apparently that's where it might end. And this is how Phil Spencer put it. We've done some work with the Switch with Ori and the Blind Forest Definitive Edition and Cuphead, and Minecraft's obviously there. But I'd say our strategy is really to think about the full Xbox experience. We want that full Xbox experience to be amazing. When you think about other hardware platforms, I'd want to think holistically. Is there an opportunity to bring all of Xbox there? And in most cases, the other partners probably aren't that interested in the whole Xbox ecosystem coming onto their hardware. Halo is such a great example, such an intrinsic part of Xbox. I don't want to get into this world where we pick apart an IP because then we lose the ability to build a cohesive experience. We lose the ability to provide value if we don't have the full Xbox experience to bring to our customers. This is interesting because it appears to go against some of what Microsoft have been saying and doing in recent years, and it might even appear to fly in the face of the whole idea behind GameStack, which, as I've already said, was created to make cross-platform development much easier. It does make sense though. Microsoft offering tools to developers to help them develop on any platform or many platforms simultaneously is good business, and it could help them into areas of the market they otherwise might not be able to reach. It also sets them up in direct competition with Epic, who've been developing similar tools, especially for crossplay. Not that I'd want to use Epic's tools after seeing how they've handled crossplay in Fortnite, but that's another argument. But keeping their first-party properties for themselves makes sense too. They've learnt the hard way this generation that exclusives may not make as much money as third-party sales, but they certainly sell hardware and services. And that's where Microsoft are looking to make their money moving forward, with services. But it's pretty obvious that one of the reasons Sony consolidated their early lead in the console race this generation was because they released a series of solid first-party games. And Microsoft aren't stupid, and I expect to see their first-party output go up considerably with the next generation. And I know some people aren't convinced by this, but, well, Microsoft will be shooting themselves in the foot if they don't sort their first-party out. And Microsoft also want to sell us Game Pass and xCloud, those services that I mentioned just a minute ago, as well as consoles. So it makes sense that they would produce IPs with the express intention of doing just that. And by the same logic, it makes sense that their existing AAA IPs and any new ones moving forwards won't be on their competitors' platforms. I suspect they'll be offering certain titles to Nintendo and maybe even Sony, if and when it makes sense for both parties, but Spencer says he wants to offer the full Xbox experience with gamer points, friends, clubs, voice chat, cross-platform play, and everything else in the GameStack arsenal. And their competitors won't want to get too cozy with them, as that Xbox experience could end up being a Trojan horse if they're not careful. And I say that Microsoft aren't stupid, but neither are Sony or Nintendo. Microsoft have obviously seen the writing on the wall. And so what they're looking at, as I've already said, is services moving forward. And they're trying to sell the services because that's where they see the money and growth to be. And that brings me to the elephant in the room. Spencer may be saying that he doesn't want to put Xbox IPs on other consoles, and it is just consoles, but there's little doubt that you would struggle to do it even if you wanted to. Switch would struggle to run some of Microsoft's IPs, like Halo or even Gears, so it's not practical to port those games over to the system. Certainly not the newer versions. Maybe the original version of Halo and games like that might come across okay, but not Gears 5 and not Halo 5. I wouldn't think anyway, although, we've seen some pretty spectacular stuff ported across to the Switch, and, that surprised a lot of people. But logically, unless it's going to come in the form of xCloud, which, let's be honest, it is something that could happen. We could see xCloud coming to the Switch, and there have been rumours that there's talks ongoing with Nintendo about exactly that. Well, unless that happens, we're not going to see those games on the Switch. And even if we could, Sony aren't about to water down their own brand by allowing Microsoft to shoehorn Xbox onto their consoles. Well, not yet anyway. Either as a purchase or through xCloud, especially when it's in direct competition to PlayStation Now. And they certainly won't want to give Microsoft a leg up when they're currently so far ahead, certainly in terms of console sales. That could change if Xbox is the one calling the shots next generation, but let's be honest, that's not likely to happen, at least not in the early part of the generation when Sony will still be riding high on the success of the PlayStation 4. Microsoft have got some way to go to catch up, and Sony know it. In short, it doesn't make any sense for either Sony or Nintendo to have all the first-party Xbox titles turning up on the Switch or the PlayStation. Phil Spencer knows that, and he's trying to spin it to make it look like a completely unilateral decision on Microsoft's part. And why wouldn't he? Let's be honest. He's in the process of trying to market his products and his services. But even if Microsoft did have complete control over where their games went and where their services went, I honestly doubt the approach would change. Yes, Microsoft want to have their games on as many platforms and services as they possibly can, but only if they're the ones calling the shots. GameStack is one way they can get to call the shots across many different devices and services. But as I've said, their competitors aren't stupid, and they aren't just going to lie down and let Microsoft roll over them. And knowing that, of course Microsoft want to keep some of their games to themselves. And that being the case, I expect to see the choice as to whether a game is offered to a different platform or not to be on a case-by-case basis. If Microsoft think a game is a good fit for the Switch and Nintendo think the same way, then of course the game will come onto that platform. But neither of them is going to want to give up any real ground to their competitors. It's simple logic. Sometimes it's good to cooperate with your competition, and sometimes, well, it simply isn't. And that's not going to change anytime soon. One thing's for certain though, the gaming industry is going to go through some major changes in the next few years. And for me, it's all very exciting. And I honestly can't wait to see how it all shakes out. But, what do you think about this? Do you think Phil Spencer is telling the truth? Do you think that we will continue to see some games coming to other platforms and other games being, in effect, exclusives? I know all Microsoft games now are going to be coming to the PC, or at least most of them are going to be coming to the PC and the Xbox on the same day and on Game Pass on the same day, which means moving forward with xCloud being integrated into Game Pass, we're going to see Microsoft first-party games coming to phones and tablets on the same day as they come to the Xbox. But that aside, do you think that we will see more games coming to the Switch and maybe some games coming to the PlayStation as well? And, do you see xCloud perhaps coming to the Switch? And do you believe the rumours that there's talks ongoing with Nintendo to do just that? As I say, I don't think we're going to see anything from Microsoft on the PlayStation anytime soon, but we've already seen some stuff on the Switch, and I do think we will continue to see some stuff on the Switch. And maybe xCloud will come. There is one problem with xCloud coming to the Switch though, And that's that the Switch isn't mobile enabled in the sense that it doesn't connect to a mobile network. So it's going to have a disadvantage in relation to phones in that area, in as much as you're not going to be able to play xCloud when you're on the bus. But I could still see it coming to the Switch. And as I say, let me know what you think about that. And I think that's me done. I'm going to do my usual and go and grab a cup of tea. And then I'm going to go and lie down in a dark room because I'm not feeling very well. And I'll speak to you guys in the next one. Bye.